lyrics, and I can't sing as high as that guy, but I don't need to.
Something, touch.
Yeah, I think it's I can't sleep until I feel your touch. It's okay. It's okay. I wasn't doing it justice anyways, so that's fine.
It's pretty hard to sing like Michael Jackson reincarnate.
yeah, pretty much. Welcome to the Stoner's Point of View, the show where we provide high-level analysis of music and movies and our impressions of such, while sometimes under the influence of legal Canadian cannabis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-hosts, with the co-mosts. First up, TP, the total package. Terrell Parker, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm taking that for my wrestling name for sure. I'm doing good, man. Thanks for asking.
Nice.
I think Terrell, your finisher would just be like arguing with somebody for so long that they just don't care anymore and give up.
They just give me
the belt. Be like, you want it more than me, bro.
Just be like, here's why I should have the belt. Fair enough. And last but not least, the Millennium Falcon, but twice as chewy. Phil Froze, how you doing, brother?
Oh shit, I dig it. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm a little tired. The kiddo's been getting me up pretty early these days, but other than that, I'm good. Glad to be doing the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids are like vampires. They rise as soon as the sun comes up. Kind of like the opposite of a vampire.
I thought you were gonna say they suck the life out of you.
No. It's kind of like an opposite vampire where like they like and rise up at exactly sunrise.
Yeah. A little bit of housekeeping here. I don't know if you people can see my little stubble here. There's a reason for that. Terrell and I are both big hockey fans, and both our teams clinched and made the playoffs. And this is my attempt at a playoff beard, so it is not coming off until the Leafs lose. And good news for you, that'll be pretty quick. So
there's really two scenarios, though, Brad. The scenario that you want is for them to sweep the Habs, to forever to use that against us.
Not a sweep. I don't care. I'll take 7.
But the other problem is that the Leafs fans are terrified of the playoffs. In reality, they've seen this show before, and the movie ended in a dark horror timeline.
Let me paint a picture for you. Okay, so like every single time you walked out of your house in the morning, like someone punched you in the face, right? You'd probably wake up in the morning and be like, I don't know if I want to go out that door. Like I've been punched in the face like 7 or 8 times now. It's yeah. So, anyways, if you don't follow us on social media, please do so at the Stoners POV on Instagram and Twitter. Get at us. Let us know what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show, and if you want to find all of our content, our Spotify, our YouTube, everything in one convenient place. As soon as Phil updates it, will be thestonerspov.com. So,
I still have not updated it from last week.
So check that out, and
I'll do it by the time this episode comes out.
Can we put a guest book in there and get people to leave us?
Old school,
like old school style?
Fire days. Oh,
remember
man,
the page guest books?
That was
social media.
Wars. Yeah,
that was social media
someone to
before.
Go on there and talk smack about the Habs. Then you want to see me argue. I'll be on our own website just arguing so hard, banning people.
I guess
Terrell was just sitting in his apartment in a high-rise in Toronto, just arguing with people on the internet. That's
how I spend my time.
Yeah, that's how Terrell is living out COVID right now.
I remember
it's hard work, but someone's got to do it, Phil.
Yeah, true. It's true. Man,
it's honest work, bro. It's honest work.
I bet you we could slap a forum in there. We get a forum up, a Stoners POV forum. We could probably get that going. That probably wouldn't be that hard.
You know what we could do? We could just awkwardly send the website to every person that we know and just send it to people being like, hey, leave us a rude comment in our guest book.
And I think we should have like a sticky post that's like general rules of thumb, and when you click on it, it's just a middle finger. Like,
there are no rules here.
Anarchy rules.
It's the ECW of guest books.
Yeah.
Oh no! No! Please no!
There's a ref, but he doesn't care.
He does not care.
I'm going to allow this.
He's there
like
for
kind of like an NHL
show.
Ref, really, just allowing whatever they like. Yeah.
Bing,
I tied it back.
Yeah. We got a pretty good episode today. Speaking of hockey, we have a hockey player that doesn't play because he's actually not good enough to make a team. Happy Gilmore is our movie for the day. I'm very excited about that. And as you heard with the intro, our song is Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. Good Canadian dude, so I'm sure he likes hockey. You kind of have to if you're Canadian, and if you
Pretty
don't,
much.
get the fuck out. That's what I have to.
Everyone in Toronto, all the Toronto like celebrities, which would be the top three, I would say, would be Drake, then Justin Bieber, and then The Weeknd. Justin Bieber and Drake are quite vocal about their love for the old hacky, and they always rep like all the sports teams. Obviously, I think Drake is a little more into
basketball, but
into the basketball because he's a big Raptors fan. But I know that Bieber wears his like, Maple Leafs jersey like pretty much as possible.
Yeah, he's actually like good buddies with Austin Matthews, which is fun. Yeah, it's a good week. I'm looking forward to getting into it. So I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to chit chat, riff about, but we can get right into this sweet tune if you want. If you're savvy.
I've got nothing going on, so let's get into it.
Well, let's
This is the highlight of Phil's week right now.
Well, let's just touch on that for a sec because none of us really do, thanks to the hashtag Ontario lockdown, which has been extended another 2 weeks, which I'm very excited about. Not.
Yeah. You know, like everyone who's like, "Oh, communism is so good." This is the start. So congratulations. I hope you're enjoying the lineups and everything because they just get worse. And so
Phil's like, I've been to Cuba, guys. I know a thing or two.
The fucking weather's better in Cuba.
Yeah, it's true. Winter communism. The Russians and us. That's about it.
The Cohibas are cheap, so the cigars are damn good.
Yeah. Man, that's depressing. Yeah.
You know what? This song is kind of depressing. It's about drunk driving. Just so you know, like.
Well, it's kind of a love song. When you look at the
like
lyrics,
driving to her drunk.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
That's what he's talking about.
For sure. And it's really the tale of two stories because when you listen to the song, just like on Spotify or with the Genius or the lyrics going or whatever, you kind of get this like love song impression. Then you watch the music video, and man, the music video, mwah! Like kudos to that guy. I didn't know. I'd never listened to this song or seen the video for Heartless before. I didn't know that this was like a continuation of that.
Absolutely.
Or like, you know,
all his videos for every like album cycle is like a story that all the videos kind of go together, and he plays a character in his songs, right? So
yeah. Well, speaking of that character, like I want to touch on this because the first YouTube comment on the video I watched, it was so accurate. I quoted it because I loved it. He said the character in this video is like a cross between the Joker and Michael Jackson, and I was like, that's so accurate.
The music in this song is a cross between Young Turks by Rod Stewart and Take On Me by Aha.
Yeah, it is. It's you know what?
The production in this song is amazing. Though.
There's so much to unpack because I just want to get this out there before I start gushing. Phil has heard it for years now, but Phil, how long I've been saying The Weeknd is going to be the best artist of all time? I absolutely adore this guy. I've listened to him since his original like EPs came out. I've been telling everyone about it, and I just have to say that I'm so excited to do this episode. Like this song particularly. When he came out with The Hills, and that was like a really big hit for him, which is like more of like a hip hop, R&B, modern kind of take on that sound. This song is something that he's done before on his records, where he goes for that like 80s Michael Jackson kind of dancey pop song vibe. But it was never like really executed in this way, where it very clearly is influenced by the 80s music of like Aha and Take On Me. But also I think there's this modern production value that takes that kind of 80s synth wave stuff and brings it to the pop masses in a way that is pretty slapping in your car. You know what I mean? Like it's a really cool, fun song to listen to.
For sure. And the first thing I noticed listening to this, because like I procrastinated listening to the song right up until the day before I thought we were going to record. And I'm glad I listened to it then because you and I, well, all three of us actually over the last number of months have been really into this kind of modern 80s idea.
It's all Phil's fault. It's all Phil's fault.
The styles.
I bought a bunch of MIDI controllers. What can I say?
And, like the songs that we've been into could like almost be soundtracks to a movie, and I feel the same. Like this one fits right in there with that. But it's amazing that like it's so modern. I think this was like the #1 song for all of 2020.
It's the most streamed song on Spotify.
Yeah, well, it broke a record for being like a number one single, or like a number one on the charts for like over a year, which I think was the first song to ever do that. So, it's a huge song. But the first thing that struck me, sorry, Brett, if I'm
no,
this is excellent. But the first thing that struck me, because like the keyboards just kind of come in and it's like this ambience, and there's the production value. Like you can hear everything.
Yeah.
Like you can hear all the highs and all the lows. Like it's so fast and crisp at the same time.
All his stuff is like this, guys.
I know that, but this song, like this is honestly like the first song off this album that I've really paid attention to, and I'm like, holy shit, this sounds fucking expensive. Like that was like the first thing I thought.
You know what? You could get all these sounds out of Serum. Like there's this thing. Have you guys ever heard of the website synthcontrol.com? Synth CTRL. What it does is that this is music nerd talk for y'all. I don't usually go this deep on the pod, but since we're talking about The Weeknd, my favorite modern artist, Phil, like I said earlier, introduced us to this like 80s kind of synth vibe, and I actually love it. And I'm that hardcore guy that listens to Joy Division now. Like that's my problem in life.
Yeah. By the way, everyone, I'm big into 80s new wave music. Always have been, always will be.
Yeah, and with The Weeknd though, what's really great about his production and stuff is that like if you go on synthcontrol.com, you can basically get Serum and get all the like the oscillator and the bass and the high end and all those sounds, and you can recreate this song fairly easily. Now, obviously, he's putting it through like tube EQs, and like he's at a big studio with like a big board, and he's doing like 17 tracks for one synth, and probably other crazy production techniques that we probably don't even actually know.
Oh, that's running through racks and racks and racks of gear. Like,
yeah. And so, but with that being said, the production on all of his songs is like really special. Most people don't know Drake's like big record, Take Care, which is really famous and one of the things that really catapulted him to stardom, was because of The Weeknd. Like The Weeknd wrote like Able to Sway is his name, and he's from Toronto. He actually, when he was coming up, Drake helped him, and he actually let Drake use a lot of his songs, and that whole sound that we hear today in modern music, which is like the trap influence from Atlanta mixed in with this Toronto kind of R&B sound that we see pretty much in every modern song, wherever all the highs are rolled off and everything has that druggy kind of nighttime driving hip hop sound. Like that's all because of really The Weeknd, and he influenced Drake, and Drake influenced everyone else.
Now, Terrell, I've heard you say a few times already how The Weeknd is from Toronto. Now he is from Scarborough, and we've had this conversation before. So, are you willing to make the exception for The Weeknd that Scarborough actually is part of Toronto? Then,
well, on a technicality, Phil, like I know you're going down, like you actually think you're making an argument, but it is one of the boroughs of.
Oh, you're always like
GTA.
Scarborough's not Toronto.
Well, it is. I think that's a very like I live downtown, so I have to say that. Like neither is North York, and like neither is Etobicoke, right? But I try not to go past Bloor. You know what I mean? Like, but I actually live past Bloor. But like, I get what you're saying. He is technically from Toronto, but Justin Bieber's not from Toronto. He's from London. Like he's from Stratford.
Stratford, if you want to really get down to brass.
Yeah. So
I got drunk one time and peed on the steps of City Hall in Stratford.
That's a
fun story. I accidentally broke into someone's apartment too there, thinking it was my friend's apartment.
Nice.
I don't drink anymore.
I feel like this song kind of has helped usher in like the mainstream recent trend of people going down the 80s rabbit hole. Like you got your diehards who have been super into like synthwave and stuff for a period of time, but I feel like this one was kind of like woke up like the masses to, oh yeah, this sound was actually awesome and still can be if you give it a chance. And now, because the reason I say that is because now I see all sorts of people saying, I love synthwave, I want to make like a synthwave album and all this stuff like that. And I'm just like, okay, cool, do it, because it's a sweet genre of music. But
thanks, Trebek.
Yeah, thanks, Trebek. God bless you, Alex Trebek. We miss you.
It's hard to it's a hard style of music to write without being incredibly derivative.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think without the production value being so insane on this song, I think the instrumentals on this track might have suffered from that, but the production is just so good that it just absolutely, it fucking slaps. Like it's really good. But
I like that, the way you put that, and I'd have to give it a listen to go back, because there was like a couple specific instrumental parts that I actually found like pretty awesome. Like the main hook melody, for once, like it might be, obviously a take on some older stuff, pretty blatantly, but it still slaps. You know what I mean? Like and yeah.
I think the biggest reason that the song is popular is because it has crossover appeal to different ages. Like, you can't listen to a song, excuse me, like WAP with your freaking kids. You know what I mean? But you can listen to Blinding Lights, even though it's about a drunk guy going to see his girlfriend. And you don't
Kids
see that as a kid. They see this idea of like they're blinded by the light of like love, and if there's like there's a subversive element.
Or they just hear the bouncy awesomeness and don't even care.
And I think that's the great thing about The Weeknd that people don't talk enough about. And one of the reasons why I really love him is that he does make like pop music, but he knows how to like take from certain flavors to make his own like dark, subversive kind of like world within his songs. And if you're a really big fan, like a casual listener will listen to Blinding Lights and they like the 80s synthwave. But if you really listen to his catalog of work, he has like this character for each record, and that's what he like sings about. And the character is typically like
a guy who gets fucked up and misses girls.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. But I think a lot of people can relate to it, and it's the way that he does it. Like, I think a lot of people don't really actually understand like how good a lot of his lyrics actually are. And this song is, I feel like, lyrically one of those ones that is more simpler than some of his other stuff. I like the part, like, I think the first verse, like, where he's like kind of talking about he's trying to call and he's going through withdrawals and all that stuff. Like, I think the song has like a good build up, and I like how he uses like Sin City, and like it has like a very like, I think the thing about The Weeknd is very like North American. It's like really hard to be from another country and make like this kind of, even this 80s kind of like vibe and like the kind of character that he creates in his songs.
Well, and I, once again, going back to the video, like I love that he took it and like put that character on display in like a proper story driven music video. I really loved it. One part that I really want to mention that stuck out is when like the drugs kick in when he's driving. And it just like the music slows, it's like just,
well, it has a Fear and Loathing influence.
Yes, exactly.
Video too,
I was
right?
gonna
Which
say that. Yeah,
is just so sick, I think.
Terrell, I'm glad that you mentioned, like the build up, because that's actually one of my issues with this song is it builds up, and like, when this song like it kicks in, like from the second I hit play, I'm like, holy shit, like this is awesome, like this is my kind of song, and the drums kick in and I'm like, I am fucking in. And the verse is solid and the chorus kicks in and it's just like like I don't know, like I honestly, like I really respect The Weeknd as an artist. I really honestly do. I think he's one of our greatest exports in recent years is his music. But this song, I was a bit disappointed just because the chorus I just found it just is kind of weak, and like and then the song doesn't really go anywhere from there. So
I agree with that. I actually agree with that sentiment. If you listen to the whole record After Hours, like the song After Hours is like this 7-minute like dance, like Euro 80s like jam, and like he has other songs on there that are just so like good and different than this song. I think this song was definitely like, when you're making a record and you're like, hey, I'm gonna have to make a single. Like, it's just like,
well, and like it feels to me like they're like, okay, like, and like you know me, I'm the fucking worst for this. It's like, yo, I wrote this sick part. Fuck, now I got to write other parts, and like, yeah, it just seems like they're like, okay, well, this is sick, get it out there for the TikTokers, for the memes, we're gonna leak it, like a true artist. We're gonna preview the song in a Mercedes-Benz commercial.
That song was made to sell fast cars, bro. Like, let's admit it.
No, and yeah, like, you know, the makings are there, but like, to me, it feels like a lot more money than artistry went into making this song, if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
There's definitely a calculated feel to it, and I agree with that sentiment. I don't think it's a bad thing,
I think he definitely intended to spend money to make money with this song, and succeeded, clearly. But I wouldn't discount the artistry at all, in my opinion. I like the chorus, yeah, like maybe it's a bit wanting, but he revisits the main synth hook, but with his vocal melody instead, which is awesome. Let's just give it up to the guy for having like
he's an amazing vocalist,
awesome voice too.
You know what's funny, Brett? You know what's funny, Brett? I've actually talked to you about The Weeknd in the past, and you told me you didn't like love his vocals, and now it's funny to hear that. Like, now you actually listened. You were like,
no, it's not that. I'll explain why. You had sent me, after we talked about this song on the side, you had sent me a link to the discography. And I had a hard time getting into a lot of his other stuff. It was mostly this song and like a couple others that kind of had the same vibe that I was like really into. But when he would do his kind of more, you know,
like R&B, dark,
yeah, R&B, sort of almost like dashes of hip hop in there, kind of style. I was like, I wasn't feeling that personally. That wasn't my shtick. But
and see, Brett, that's where you and I differ on this, like in the artistry aspect of it, because his older stuff to me, like that's why, you know, like the artistry of this song kind of comes into question for me, because I see so much more experimentation and like I don't like it seems like and you know, the guy's a fucking millionaire, he's happy, good for him, but that tortured artist is you know, now he's happy. He's got his millions of dollars and his models and his fancy cars. He's a motherfucking star boy by his own admission. And I just having seen what he's capable of. Yeah, I miss that, you know. But good on him, man. He's fucking killing it. And at the same time, while this is like pop, very, very,
it's still better than all the other pop crap.
Exactly, and it's got more artistry in, you know, in the however long this song is than the fucking minutes, Billboard for the last 5 years. So
you know what? I agree with Phil 100%, and I think his influence now is becoming really powerful. Like, he boycotted the Grammys, and because of him, he got the Grammy committee basically fired because he was like, "Yo, my song and my record were legit the best record ever. The people voted me to win the best song, and you're not giving it to me." And I love that about him, that he went that extra, like, you know, down that rabbit hole to say the Grammys are corrupt, which we all know. It's not like made by like what's actually popular or good. And I think that's the best thing about Blinding Lights. And that I really wanted to talk about this because I think The Weeknd, because he's Canadian, he has like a different way of like going about the way he handles himself. He doesn't like really like seek out a lot of like pop culture fame, and he creates it with his own like dark, twisted world. And I think there's something about that that is like extremely special, and that's why I'm wearing an EXO t-shirt. You know, like I love this guy. I think that when I first heard him as like a kid that grew up listening to like punk and metal, I never really got like the whole Toronto man's like memes that we hear nowadays. You know, that you know, I'm not gonna try to say like fam or whatever. I actually don't even know like all the slang, but he like grew up in that world, and he took that and mixed it with like that 80s. You know, he listened to The Cure, obviously. He listened to that kind of stuff, and he took that and he found a way to make that his own. And there's just something, I don't know, indescribable about that to me. And I think this song is not his best song, but it shows the power of his songwriting, his ability, his crossover appeal, and what he is capable of in regards as an artist that can make hits.
One thing I thought was really cool about his Grammy boycott too is that after he got snubbed, you know, he wrote about it and stuff, and obviously he was upset. And the group behind the Grammys, fucking rich white dudes, whoever the fuck they are, they're like, oh, you know, like they changed their policy so it's like not like a private review group or whatever. And he's still like, nah, fuck you guys. And he instructed his labels to not submit any of his future works to that board of people. So like he's out of the pool for potential Grammy nominations for the foreseeable future, unless he goes back on that, which I don't see him doing, because like he holds all the cards.
Agreed. I was just gonna say he doesn't need to win a Grammy. The Grammys need to win him back.
He's the most streamed artist. Like he's making.
Yeah.
He's been sitting at home during the pandemic, laughing while the people are snubbing. Why would he care? I totally get it.
Largely because of this song, at least in the most recent years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but he's been what was this song that was on the fucking 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack? Earned it. Yeah.
You're talking to a super fan. I know like every lyric.
Yeah, well, but yeah, he's got absolutely phenomenal sales. I mean, he's no Garth Brooks in terms of sales, but
well, you think about it though, it's funny you mentioned that. Like you look at a song like Earned It, which is like this piano kind of like ballad rock kind of song, and then his other big hit that most people know is Starboy, which is obviously like a French house inspired kind of pop song. And then you look at Blinding Lights, which is extremely 80s synthwave but like updated. I love that about his vocal style and his delivery, is that he experiments and does different stuff, and he's introducing these kind of different trends to young people that are like in their 20s going to clubs and partying with their friends, and I love that about his music
for sure. Yeah. And like the thing about him traversing kind of the different styles throughout his discographies is he's showing people who might be a fan of R&B or might be a fan of hip hop, but might be stuck in that rut that, hey, if you try, you can actually sing like a boss too. You know what I mean? Like I remember years ago when like Eminem was only like 3 records deep or something, and it was a big deal that in one of his songs he sang the chorus and actually tried. Like he actually put that as part of his lyrics, that like, I don't sing a lot, or whatever it was. But like he did it, and it was this big thing that he like stepped out of his rap shell and tried to actually sing. And that shouldn't be a big thing. Like if you're a talented musician, you're a talented musician, and The Weeknd is certainly that.
Yeah, and I also think it helps that like the song is produced by Max Martin, and if anyone knows who Max Martin is, he's like manufactured like 26 like #1 hits, and I think that's one of the reasons why the song has such like a Scandinavian aha feel with the gated drums and all that stuff. And
listen to Young Turks though by Rod Stewart.
I know the song.
I was like, why does this song make me think of Rod Stewart? And so I put on some Rod Stewart. I'm like, oh, that's why.
I just think this is one of those songs that's going to be like a wedding classic. Like you're going to hear this at parties for the next 20, 30 years, easy.
Oh,
it's just, you're not going to avoid it.
If this comes on a playlist, a random playlist, like I'm not skipping. I'm listening to the whole thing for sure.
Well, he is like a modern Michael Day Jackson minus being dead and one other thing.
Yeah. Being white.
Sure, let's go with that.
Okay. Well, that's as good a reason as any to get to our rankings. So I'll go first. This is a really good tune. Really good tune. I really liked it. I'm glad we covered it. The only thing I say is if all his songs were this style, he'd probably be my favorite artist, like ever. Like he'd probably be #1 on my list now, because this song is great. And I really like the style, and I really like his voice. If he couldn't back it up with the chops vocally, it might not work for me, but he does in spades. So I loved it. If you listeners out there are sleeping on The Weeknd, wake the hell up, because he's awesome. Giving this song an 8 out of 10.
What can I say? I'm a super fan, so I'm obviously going to only say good things. For me, I actually first heard of The Weeknd. I heard of this, one of my all-time favorite song of his to this day is the first song I ever heard by him. It's called Wicked Games. If you've never heard it before, put it on. It has like the most depressing, darkest R&B vibe you'll ever hear in a song, and it's its own genre. And I was stoned at my parents' house. It was on late night on Much Music. It came on and I like sat up and I was like, this is like a new kind of rock music. I felt it was different. And I still feel like his music like hits me that way. Like when his new records come out, I honestly like I'm waiting by Spotify and I sit there and I get super baked and I listen to the whole thing through and then I do it again. and then I
late
do it
at
again.
night. It has to be late at night, though.
Oh, and his records are the best stuff to listen to while driving. If you're driving at nighttime, I just think there's a connection there. And this song is just, it's just a string of another one of his hits. It does this thing where it modernizes 80s synthwave. It brought it to the masses. I love the deviant kind of lyrics, which is his like specialty, where it's like this dark subject matter about turning into kind of people interpret it as like love. And I just can't say enough good things about him. He's from Toronto. He's my favorite musician, other than like some hardcore shit that no one likes. So with that being said, I'm gonna give it an 8.9 because I think if we were ever to cover other songs, I would give them in like the 9 range. This song isn't my, like Phil's probably gonna say, it's not my favorite song by him. Wicked Games is probably my favorite song by him. But I have many songs that I jam by him, and this is definitely one to keep your eyes on. Keep listening to it. It's classic.
Oh boy. This is the part where I know that you guys are just going to give me a hard time during the break. So this song, all in all, the production is insane. It's so great. I've kept on harping about that because that is the standout element in this song. I think the production is what saves this song from mediocrity. I think it falls flat creatively in the vocals and on the dynamic of the song. It's the lack of dynamics in the song. It starts off really strong and just kind of disappoints me because there's no payoff to the song. Even the way it ends, it has an ending very similar to a song that I'm working on that's not finished right now. Not to compare myself to people of that level.
Yeah,
but,
Phil writes stuff just like The Weeknd, guys.
No, but it sounds like when you don't have an ending for a song yet, and it's in your DAW, and it just kind of just trails off. It's again, The Weeknd, have loads of respect for him, but to me, it's an example of like a really talented artist kind of falling victim to the record executives and the money aspect and rushing art out. So again, I think a lot more money than passion went into this song. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
Wow. That's it reminds me of like, Deftones when they came out with Change of the House of Flies, and it was this huge hit for them. Mm-hmm. But you could tell that wasn't like their best song,
Yeah, yeah.
And
I give it that rating because I'm holding The Weeknd up to his own standard that he's set. And that's why I give it such a low rating.
Right, and the exemplary standard of Two Princes by the Spin Doctors.
Yes.
So Phil, just so I don't like eviscerate you in the break, just give me what's your favorite Weeknd song then, like so I can kind of forget this travesty that you just laid on us with this ranking.
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you, to be honest with you. From what I've heard, it's all very intriguing.
All right, just shut up. Just say Wicked Games and we'll go to break.
Well, yeah, Wicked Games is probably my favorite one, but yeah, it's just I've just heard him do so fucking much better.
That's fair. You're allowed to have your opinion.
Apparently, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, around the world have not. But that's okay. No.
Who sells more records?
No, Phil, they're wrong. They're wrong. You're right. They're all wrong.
You know who sells way more records than The Weeknd? Garth Brooks.
The Weeknd's actually sold 75 million records.
150 million for Garth Brooks.
I know, but he is still one of the best-selling artists of all time. And I know that you're...
This is an amazing discussion. I want to keep it going for a sec. Garth Brooks has like 3x the tenure of The Weeknd as well. So we have to revisit this conversation in like 20 years.
And it's not like Garth Brooks is like the Beatles or Rihanna or like Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley, who've sold like 250 million records. He has definitely been around for a while, but like, dude, like, come on, like, even like Taylor Swift I'm pretty sure sold more records than old Garth.
She has.
Taylor Swift's awesome though.
The thing is, I knew this argument was going to come up, and record sales do not equate to good music. Because I sold a shit ton of records as well. I don't think that's really a valid argument.
I bet you if you said that to Garth Brooks, he would country punch you in the dick.
No, he'd probably be like, you know what? No, he'd be really nice to my face face and then go murder a child somewhere. That man is a psychopath.
Okay.
He's a serial killer.
On the same token, because I tend to agree with you that record sales don't equal quality or whatever, however you put it. But he's also like the most streamed artist ever, and you don't pay shit for that. So that means that people want to hear this song and want to listen to this song.
Well, that's what record sales mean as well.
I mean, that means people want to buy the song.
Yeah.
Right?
I see two sides. I see two sides of the same coin there, because like record sales that's just an antiquated metric of the same thing. People are buying your music. Streaming, you're still getting revenue.
Here's a different argument, okay? The Weeknd started releasing, he's been active from 2010 on, so he's been active for 11 years. Now, let's look at Garth Brooks. I'm on Wikipedia. I'm looking at a list of best-selling artists. And he's been active from 1989 to present.
Okay, how long has Justin Bieber been active for?
Well, I'm not sure. You're a bigger Bieber fan, apparently, than I am.
While you look that up,
Bieber has more record sales as well.
We can't say that the metric is antiquated when this song was like the most popular song in 2020, which was just last year. So the metric's not antiquated if you're comparing sales and streams.
And
we're not comparing
Bieber
songs,
sold as many records as
he
sold as many records as The Weeknd, Phil. So yeah, you might want to do.
So
your
there
research.
we go. So are we saying that Bieber's a great artist?
No, he's literally one of the worst. He's
exactly.
he's like those when you get a potato and it gets those weird things growing out of it. He's like, that's what he is.
but no, I don't think anybody's disputing that The Weeknd is a great artist. Like no one's trying to make that claim right now, right?
Yeah,
like,
but I'm also but like this song didn't sell 75 million records, and this song is not why he's the most streamed artist out there. It's his entire catalog accounts for that.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. It
all plays a part, but you can't argue the popularity of this song either.
I'm not arguing the popularity.
Okay,
I'm just saying that I particularly do not really think that this song is all it's cracked up to be, in my opinion.
I get where Phil's coming from. There's better Weeknd songs. And let's leave it at that, guys. There's better songs by The Weeknd. Brett, I feel like Brett's coming from the world, like, let me just say, Brett has always had a more pop-leaning kind of aesthetic to what he likes in music. And so obviously a song like Blinding Lights, it's a pure banger from the pop perspective.
For sure. And it even goes beyond that, though, because I would say that I don't necessarily agree. Like, the argument being made relative to his body of work, okay, that's fair. I don't have a ton of experience in his body of work. But trying to make some claim about a lack of artistry and a lack of musicianship and a lack of dynamics in the song, I just plain don't agree. I think that was all there. I think it was all there.
I think you guys should fight.
And that's the nice thing about art, is that it's subjective. So.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah, but people can have bad opinions, Phil. Just throwing that out there. Like, you can be subjective and be like, I love liver. Like, and you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like, some people like olives, some don't, but olives are good, and you should like them.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the pineapple on pizza debate all over again.
Yeah.
But that's as good a place as any to cut off the song portion of our show. So we are going to take a brief respite. And we will talk to you all after the jump. Welcome back to the second half, Stoner's Point of View. We're about to get into some Adam Sandler good stuff here. Happy Gilmore, the movie that you definitely have seen part, if not all of. And if you say you haven't, you're a dirty liar. Because back when network television was a thing, it would be on at least one station anytime you'd flip through the guide almost. And I had a bad habit of, whenever it was on, leaving it on. And whatever place it was in the movie, I would watch it to the end, because this is one of my favorite movies. Certainly one of my favorite comedies, but I think it's up there with all-time movies for me, because it's very good. And something you'll like right off the bat, Phil. 90-minute runtime, almost right on the dot.
Oh yes, yeah, I believe it's like 131 something.
Yeah, yeah,
I always check that now at the start of a movie. I'm like, nice.
yeah, exactly. And something that we'll all appreciate, the music overall in this movie is quite awesome.
Starts off with Tuesday's Gone by Skinner. Come on now.
Yeah.
So good. I love that too.
Very good. And like I love that it's doing the introductory montage about his upbringing and like the hockey obsession. It's kind of dark actually. Like it stems from his relation.
Super dark. His dad dies at a hockey game.
Yeah, well, and that's where his hockey obsession stems from, whether or not he's good at it. Like he feels like he has to do this because like he's got this.
Right. You know, it's really dark for us because he's a Bruins fan.
Yeah.
Me and you, we may not agree on a lot when it comes to hockey, but I fucking hate the Bruins.
Fuck the Bruins.
Why do you guys hate the Bruins so much?
Because they've been really good for like 10 years now, and I think that
they're pretty dirty. They're pretty dirty too.
They're a dirty team. I think they get away with a lot because of their legacy in the NHL.
And their owner is like a majority shareholder in the NHL or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
but I will say this about the movie. The thing right off the bat, it talks about his, we're talking about his childhood. One thing that I really didn't realize now until I was stoned is why the hell are they wearing the reverse retro Oilers and Canucks jerseys? Like they're big Boston fans, but their dad is wearing the blue and orange, and Happy's wearing blue and orange, his dad's wearing the blue and green. How the heck do they like the Oilers in Vancouver? Fuck those teams, especially.
Well, we got to remember when this movie came out, they weren't always tire fires of teams.
Was Vancouver good in the 90s?
I don't know.
The Oilers weren't. The Oilers weren't for sure.
Yeah, true. The Oilers started to fall apart right in the early 90s, yeah. Anyways, his dad was killed at a game, kind of sparks this hockey obsession, and then he's telling the story. I love the part about the grandma and Gene Simmons. I should wear a Gene Simmons mask to cheer him up when he was old. And like instead of being cheered up, he's just terrified at first. And then he pulls it off and smiles and
my favorite part, as you guys probably could guess, is when it's showing all of his jobs and he's just using everything
like a dick.
Like the gas station. I haven't seen this movie since I was younger, but like just like seeing him like with the gas pump using it as a dick and spraying gas out, you're like, oh wow, that's incredibly dangerous.
I love the scene where as part of sorry, go ahead, Brett.
No, I was just gonna say like it's a running gag that I believe all of us do, but for sure I know Phil and I do, where we'll just like to our wives, we'll grab random objects around the house and be like, hey honey, look, it's like this, whatever it is my dick. I do it with like frying pans, like pencils, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's actually a Trailer Park Boys reference, another very Canadian thing for our non-Canadian listener. But yeah, it's Ricky. He's like, oh, it's like I think it's a hockey stick. It's like the hockey stick's my cock.
I think my favorite scene in this whole opening montage is the whole making the team part, where like it shows him beating up guys and he can't skate, can't handle the puck.
It's my puck, baby. Don't you ever touch my puck again.
Then he does that insane slapper that like breaks the glass, where the coaches are talking about how awful he is, and I love that whole scene where he like beats up the coach. Like it's just so like
he's like, what about me? It's like, oh, Gilmore, I called your name, didn't you? He's like, no, you didn't. He like looks at this. He's like, well, better luck next year. And like Happy
starts feeding him.
I love that Sandler plays. I want to talk about this. Sandler's so good at playing like the angry guy kind of role. He makes that so funny. Like I find that a lot of characters, when they try to be like this angry person, it's not funny. Like it's kind of stupid. But I find that like in Phil's background picture is a great scene of him being angry Happy Gilmore, even though his name's Happy. I love that scene, and I love the scene after where his like girlfriend leaves him. He's talking to the thing. I love the part where he's arguing with her. He's like, "You're a lousy kindergarten teacher. I see those finger paintings you bring home, and they suck."
and then he like apologizes. Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, I love you, baby.
Baby, I love your finger paintings. Come on back upstairs, baby."
I love how he associates like kids' shitty finger paintings with her being a bad teacher. But I was gonna say too, like with the character of Happy, like he's this rough and tumble guy just willing to throw down at any given moment. Like of course he's a Bruins fan.
He's a 90s enforcer that played on the Bruins, basically.
Another scene I like in that opening montage, and it kind of sets up the movie for later, is when he shoots his boss with a nail gun.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so that's a little side note we'll get to. But yeah, back to the intercom thing. So like he has the breakup over the intercom with his girlfriend, and then I love he's like starts singing like to the closes in and just like and then all of a sudden like knock on the door and he looks over, he's like, babe? And it's like the Asian lady who heard him singing through the intercom, and like the actual song comes on, it's like to the closes in. It's like,
yeah, well, it just shows him wake up and leave, and then there's the Asian lady. You know what, breakfast?
Well, and that's the funny part is like you think that like maybe he rejects her or whatever, right? But then he gets up for the next day and she comes out and it's like, oh, he just like decided to cut his losses and stick with the Asian lady.
Oh man, yeah, the timing on that was great.
Speaking of Adam Sandler and breakfast, this little side note: you guys hear this IHOP story about Adam Sandler and his daughter were at an IHOP and they weren't seated because like the server was just like, yeah, like had no idea who he was and was just like, yeah, like it's gonna be like a 30-minute wait. And you know, kudos to the guy. Like he didn't try to big league or be a star or anything. He just said, okay, you know, took his daughter and left. But the server realized afterwards when the next person came in, it's like, I just saw Adam Sandler in the parking lot, and the server's like, oh shit. Like, and realized that she had just basically, you know, alienated Adam Sandler. And there's this story that went around online, and apparently now IHOP has offered him like lifetime free breakfasts or something.
You know, not cool like that. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. He had a similar situation happen, and like was like, you know who I am? I'm Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, and like it breaks my heart because Rage Against the Machine is like my favorite band. And like he's just got all like just out of touch millionaire on us, and he like tweets about it, and the restaurant like tweeted back. They're like, "No, we know who you are, and you're still a dick. Go fuck yourself."
You know what? You know what'd be hilarious?
Never come back.
You know what'd be funny and hilarious? He's like, you know, I'm in Rage Against the Machine, and then he like pulls out his phone, and it's like, and he's like, I wrote that.
That's me.
So if you could, I like my pancakes fluffy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I you hear about this celebrity stuff doing that all the time. I think with Adam Sandler, it doesn't help that he's kind of well known for dressing like he's homeless. And we get a lot of that in this movie. I will say his fashion sense is just awful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and his grandma, that's kind of the crux of the plot. His grandma is about to be homeless because he finds out that like her house is going to foreclose. And what I love about this scene is he walks in, he sees the guys carrying the couch out, and instead of like telling him to put it down, he just jumps up, like high jumps onto the couch, and like it slams down to the living room.
Solid move, too.
Yeah.
Well, his character, Happy, I would describe him as like, you know, some people are passive aggressive. He's aggressive. Like he goes directly to the most aggressive action he could take to get his way. And it becomes a problem for him in the story. I think in a way it helps him get his girlfriend because she thinks he's quirky or whatever. But he eventually gets told to chill out, and that's part of why he's successful.
Yes. So. Yeah. And like how he ends up even playing golf, like, is to obviously raise the money to save grandma. But he has to put her in a nursing home, and shout out Ben Stiller for being like
he has the best role in this movie.
Oh man, so good.
And, like, so all of his lines, like he's only got a few, but all of them are just like, you know, quotable down the road. Like, you will sleep or I will put you to sleep.
Well, anytime my daughter asks me for something, like, Daddy, could I trouble you? If she says, could I trouble you for something? She's getting the, you could trouble me for a nice warm glass of shut the hell up. Because I think that's such a good, like, line. And I think, like, it's just such a funny scene. And, like, I love the part where he's like, he drops the air conditioner on the Meester lady. I found that really funny, just like because she jumps on the car when he's taking grandma to the retirement home, and she's like, Meester.
Well, and my favorite part about that is when he like looks at his grandma after, he's like, hey, you know the Meester lady? She's like, yeah. She's like, I think I killed her.
Back to Ben Stiller, I didn't notice, you know, until this watch through again because I was much younger. You notice how when he pulls out, like he's trying to like give like Ben Stiller some money to like be like, hey, take extra care. He pulls out a $1 bill.
Yeah.
Hey man, in the 90s that was like $2. All right. So
but yeah, so he hasn't really taken to golf yet. He still thinks of himself as a hockey player. That all happens through the mover guys who are actually moving his grandma's stuff. They're like firing off some drives, and they place a little bet with Happy, who shows them that he can crush the ball like 400 yards easy.
Which is insane, by the way, if you play golf. Like,
Yes.
that's really, like, not possible. But hey.
Yeah.
But then, you know, he gets this big idea. Maybe I can make some money hustling at golf. So he goes to like a driving range, and that's where he's spotted by Chubbs, who Chubbs is a great character too. We get some info on the Gator here, where
I love when he's like, "Oh, I could have made it to like whatever tournament. I could have made it to the pros, but they wouldn't let me play." And he's like, "Oh, because you're black."
Yeah, and then he's like
no, damn Gator took my hand.
yeah.
But in retrospect, that was some pretty awesome commentary on the golf world at the time, because like Tiger Woods, like probably the greatest to ever play the sport.
Mm-hmm.
There were courses that he could not play on even as a pro.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's that's
If you're
super
racist, stop listening to this podcast right now and go fuck yourself.
Mhm.
Anyways, now we get introduced to Shooter and his eventual love interest, Virginia. She's like a PR person, and Shooter's just this snobbish dickhead who's like a golf lifer, and like this is his year. And there's great little monologue he has about that later on, where he's like, now it's Shooter's done his time, Shooter's paid his dues, and now it's Shooter's turn. Just like, but yeah, he's a great movie villain. And I remember watching this like super high, and it wasn't this time, it was actually a different time I watched it super high. But I remember thinking like an alternate title for this movie could be called like The Unraveling of Shooter McGavin. Because he goes from having it all together, snobbish dickhead, like golf pro, like he's like looking at his golf buddies with their gold jackets. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna have mine in like 2-3 months, guys. And like, just, you know, it's this cocky little bro fraternity, whatever. And by the end, he's like running with the gold jacket that he's stolen and like putting it on as he's running down a hill. And like, anyways, yeah.
So the actor that plays Shooter, I can't remember his name.
It's Christopher McDonald.
Christopher McDonald, he actually did not want to take this role because he was so sick of getting typecast as the bad guy, but he has a fucking punchable face. Like he just
very punchable.
Has that face. And but then he read the script and he was like, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. And it was like on the condition that he could improvise a lot of his lines. So, you know, he portrayed that role so well and actually created so much of it. And it's, you know, like you might not remember, like you'll remember two characters' names from this movie for the rest of your life. And that's Happy Gilmore and Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a douche bro name for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
every time he sicks a putt.
There's a few like really good things in this part of the movie, and I kind of just like bullet pointed them. So number one, when Happy shows up and he's kind of dressed, you know, in his normal grubby clothes, and Chubb's like, glad you dressed up, and Happy looks and he's like, hey, if I caught myself dressed like that, I'd have to kick my own ass. And then like,
that is a good golf guy joke.
Yeah, and then right after that, the kid who's his caddy like comes and like grabs his gloves, and he fucking grabs the kid. He's like, what the fuck you doing, huh?
just ready to scrap like right away.
He's like, Mr. Gilmore, I'm your caddy. That was really funny. And then we get kind of the game itself, and like he shows off his drive. It's great. And then we get introduced to his Achilles heel, which is putting, and that comes into it later as well. And he keeps missing these short putts over and over and over. And finally, when he gets it, one of the douche bro golfers is like, it's about time. And he comes walking up there, like, yeah, it's about time. Like, I wanted the ball to go in the hole. It just wouldn't go in the hole. And like, as he's talking, he grabs a guy and jerseys him and punches him in the face.
And doesn't get disqualified from the tournament.
But
he gets pretty close. He does get busted for being a psycho. Like,
that was slick. Like, I legitimately wonder how many takes it took to jersey the guy completely with one hand and then throw the phantom punch. Obviously, like, it's a movie, folks.
It made Sandler
90s Bruins fan.
I was going to say, it made Sandler look like he actually played hockey, how good he was at jerseying people and punching them.
Well, that one, like, I couldn't believe it. One hand is just woof. And anyways, awesome. And then he ends up getting the hole-in-one on par 4. And one thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, Phil, it seems like something that you might have picked up on, but after he smashes the ball, when it's showing it bounce across the green and go in the hole, that was digitally affected. Like,
Yeah,
big
it
time.
was. It looked way bigger than it's much bigger
It looked
than
so fake. Like,
yeah, it did. It looked much bigger than a normal golf ball, that's for sure.
You know, one thing I was wondering actually about this movie, because like they always do that shot, like the aerial shot, whenever he shoots the ball.
Yeah.
And so now they would have just done that with a drone. They must have had to do that with a fucking helicopter back in the day. Like those must have been really expensive shots to do.
or like a really massive crane they would have used sometimes, but it depends how high it is. Like,
well, and the distance covered though in those shots. I don't know.
think
if
it probably would have been on
crane.
it would probably would have been on a line or something where they
I guess possibly something like that.
So-
but I was just watching that and I'm just like, yeah, like nowadays they just put a drone up and just like, that's done. Like there's our afternoon, you know.
For sure. So we get our first of, well, I guess if you count the intro, it's our second of what is a few montages in this movie, where after he realizes he could get a hole in one, he's like, I'm going to do that every time. And then like jump around starts playing. And it's just showing like the ups and downs of being a one-trick golf pony. Like when he's doing good, he's like celebrating with the guy. And when he's doing bad, he's like choking him.
Yeah.
It's nice and cheesy hijinks.
I love all the little golf tournaments, like the one after this one, after he gets in trouble and he gets busted but gets kept on because the ratings are high. I love the part where the next tournament they're at, where I love the announcer guys, like they say a lot of really hilarious stuff. Like my favorite thing they say is, "What a large and economically diverse crowd we've gathered today," and because it shows all like the happy like fans coming in with like their beer bongs and shit, and like I think it is kind of cool though. I will say that like. There's kind of this element where they're making fun of golf, and I think there's like this kind of cool element that's like kind of subversive in this movie that people don't talk about enough, which is like what Phil was talking to about like how the racism that exists in golf, but there's also a lot of classism in golf. It's very much
very stuffy atmosphere.
Yeah,
it's very waspy, we like to say.
He was kind of making it cool, right? Which is why he didn't get booted off the tour.
One of the things that's to kind of speak to that a little bit more, because they did they had a golf pro, I can't remember his name, as a consultant for this film, and one of the things that he demanded was that, because I can't remember the PGA Tour, like you get the green jacket, right? And they had it written that was the jacket they would win, and he's like, no, like you can't represent golf, like it would be disrespectful to the PGA Cup or whatever the fuck it's called. And so they changed it to a gold jacket, which is not actually a thing in golf.
Right. That's actually a pretty cool fact.
That is interesting, yeah.
So we got a side story here where Stiller's got a quilt making sweatshop.
It's like a quilt mill.
Yeah.
And what's funny is the version I watched, and it's weird because I was waiting for it, but I never got there. The version I watched missed the deleted scene where Ben Stiller gets his and gets thrown out the window after everything by Happy. The version I watched didn't have that in the run through. I had to watch a deleted scene after.
Did you buy it off YouTube?
I streamed it.
Huh.
Just
I had that scene in it, so that's interesting. This always happens from the Stoner's point of view.
I know.
Is it on Netflix? I can't remember.
No.
I think I might have streamed it from a totally legal alternative source.
Well, that's what I did too. Mine didn't happen to have that. Anyways, that was a little side note. So we got a couple, like, between all the golf montages and all the little tournaments, all this stuff's going to be all over the place. So if we're not chronologically accurate, folks, I apologize in advance, but we get some good stuff. There's the one tour that Chubbs is on where he's like, all you got to do is just tap it in. Just tap it in.
Classic line from this movie.
Yeah, he's like, tap it in. After he misses the point, tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap-a-roo.
I like the next golf scene where they're making fun of the poor people, and Shooter like walks by some people. He's like, "Damn it, people, go back to your shanties." And we get the alligator eating Happy's golf ball, and Happy beats the shit out of a very large alligator.
Right. Well, yeah,
I love
it's the gator, I think.
Yeah, it's the one that took Chubb's hand.
I love because when he gets to the Pro Tour, we get introduced to Kevin Nealon. I totally forgot he was in this movie.
He's amazing.
So good. He's all into like that, like like I've actually been trying to incorporate some of that stuff into my life as of late. I've been meditating and stuff, but you're like you see a lot of it that's just bullshit, and that's like like doing the bulls dance, feeling the flow, working it. Like it's just so ridiculous. Well, it's like the ball wants to go home. Just send it home. Happy.
Well, and even before that, like that's like after he's crossed over into like Happy's good graces. But there's the first introduction of Happy and Kevin Nealon where he's like kind of psycho on the tour, and Nealon's trying to like calm him down with all this like psychotherapeutic like muse bullshit, and then Adam Sandler's like, oh yeah, okay, and he's like psycho as he's walking away, right? And then when Happy freaks out, you see Nealon like just look at him like psycho, and back and forth. But yeah,
they definitely have competing philosophies in life.
So we're kind of all over the place now, and that's okay. One thing I want to mention is when he hires the homeless guy as his caddy, because there's some good stuff with the homeless guys. So we'll get to that. But yeah, this is one of the tours where he misses the first swing and just like starts cussing like a sailor, and like it cuts out to like them watching it on TV so they could beep it all out. It's like beep, you stupid beep. Yeah,
I love how there's always the word monkey in there. It's always like beep beep beep, monkey beep.
Yeah. And this kind of ends up leading to like the kind of blossoming of the love interest. I mean, just to backtrack a bit, it starts because Shooter actually sets up Happy to like meet him and his golf bros on the green at like late at night, and the sprinklers come on and get him wet, and then he sees the girl when he's all wet, and he's like, hey, you see Shooter McGavin? She's like, no, why? He's like, I'm gonna go punch him in the face. And
but let's talk about this for a second. Like, there's a whole scene later that kind of like is towards the middle of the movie where he takes her on the hockey date thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how the fact in Adam Sandler movies, Adam Sandler somehow bags
hot chicks,
really attractive women that are way out of his league, like light year. And there's a meme about this because like if you look at pictures going back, like Adam Sandler's the type of guy that gets denied at IHOP. And if you've ever been to an IHOP, it's not a classy joint. And the fact that he is getting denied at IHOP, but in his movies is like really killing it and wheeling, as we like to say in the hockey world, some nice bunnies. I would say he's not a beauty, and I don't think he's scoring top shelf with those, those girls. And so, yeah, I'm kind of I find that very strange that he does that. In his movies.
Like we were talking about him dressing like a homeless person. One of my notes is just, the fuck is that hoodie all about?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because like it's not even like he charms or sweet talks. Like she just falls for him, right? Like he loses the bet with the shooting the puck down the ice, and then she's like, Happy, I didn't see it go in, and just like falls for him. And
then we get the best scene in the movie, which is the Zamboni guy singing Endless Love.
Yeah, friends singing Endless Love in the dark. But yeah, that was very, very funny. But yeah, at the Cleveland Classic, another one of the tournaments, his old boss shows up, the guy with the nail in his head, and ends up having a run-in with Shooter, which will play into the movie later. And then one thing for all the times I've seen this movie, I totally forgot about this, where he was on the green, he's about to tee off, and he looks at his caddy, he's like, you got the ball? And the caddy like winds up the thing, and it's his underwear. And like I remember the underwear scene, and that it's his freshly washed underwear, but what I didn't remember was the quick cut to him just bare ass.
Yeah.
I did not remember that, so that was something that stuck out.
I think the highlight of the golf stuff is where we're kind of at after the Zamboni guy is when they do the Pepsi Pro-Am in San Fran with Bob Barker and Happy. And I feel like this is like the iconic scene of this movie. Like I love the part where he's like, I want to punch that guy in the face, but I'll get in trouble. I bet you get that a lot on Let's Make a Deal. And Bob Barker's like, it's The Price is Right, Happy. And he's like, oh. And like you just know off the bat, it's like foreshadowing. These two guys are not going to get along.
And not only that, like I love this tour because the Jackass guy. And I want to shout him out.
Yes.
I want to shout him out because Joe Flaherty.
Joe Flaherty, sorry.
Yeah, he was a teacher at the college I went to back in 2005, and so I knew him, I met him, great dude. Total polar opposite of what you'd expect from...
Was he like, hey, I was the
Not at all.
guy on
You met
Happy
Joe
Gilmore?
Flaherty? You never told me this, Brett.
Sorry.
That is amazing. He was Guy Cavallero on SCTV back in the day.
Yeah, how could you not tell? How could you not tell Phil? He will tell people that he knows a guy that knows Joe Flaherty.
But what I
love Joe Flaherty. Like when I saw, for some reason I wrote Eugene Levy, but yeah, it's Joe Flaherty.
Another thing I love about his character in this movie is like he's just like obsessed with Shooter. Like I love after he cost Happy the tour, like he's having the payoff with Shooter, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go get some Red Lobster?" And Shooter's like, "Yeah, I got something else going on." He's like, "Shooter," he like grabs him for a second. He's like, "I thought we were gonna be friends."
We gotta talk about the Bob Barker scene though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that happens after the Bob Barker because of this guy calling
jackass.
happy names, you jackass. There's the best line in the whole movie, in my opinion. He's like, you know what's driving me crazy? You not putting the ball in the hole. And he's like, stop pushing me, Bob. He's like, no way you're as bad at hockey as you are at golf. He's like, now you're gonna get it, Bobby. And that's where they have their fight scene, which I absolutely love. I love how Bob Barker just beats the shit out of this guy. That is very clearly like Happy. He trains himself at the baseball, the batting cages by getting hit with baseballs. Yeah. And he takes a seriously pretty savage beating from like Bob Barker, who's
Barker's got some hands.
And I love the shot of like the fisticuffs where he's like jabbing, and then he winds up and cracks him. But yeah,
and you get to hear Bob Barker say "bitch." Come on.
Yeah, exactly. That's really the chef's kiss of the scene.
It's the climax of the movie
because like Sandler like gets a headbutt on him and like knocks him out, and he's like, "Press is wrong, bitch." And then Bob Barker like just happens to snap awake and beat the shit out of him, and then we get some good stuff there. So then, there are consequences from this one. He doesn't magically evade the consequences this time. He gets suspended for a month, which it pisses off both him and Shooter at the same time because Shooter wants him off the tour and Happy wants to play so he can get the rest of the money. And then he's kind of like lamenting to Virginia in the diner and just
I just want to say I love the scene between Shooter and Happy where Shooter's like, "You're in big trouble, pal. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast." And he's like, "You eat pieces of shit
for breakfast?"
Yeah, so that's right after this. So Happy gets a Subway sponsorship. Yeah. And that gets him the rest of the money to get the house. So he goes sees his grandma and he's like, "We're going to go get the house back." And then they go and it's been auctioned off to Shooter. Shooter has bought the house now.
Let's talk the Subway commercial, by the way. Super homoerotic.
Talk about a holy
the worst Subway mascot, or not the worst mascot Subway's ever had. Boing.
Boing.
Oh, Jared, silly guy.
But yeah, so Shooter's bought the house, and then we get that line. That was a classic line. The "you eat piece of shit for breakfast," really good stuff. And then Happy realizes that if he's gonna win the big tournament, which he has to for the house, because he ends up making a deal with Shooter that if he beats him, he gets the house. Shooter beats him, he'll quit golf. So now he has to go beg for help from Chubbs to learn to maximize like the short game, which is his Achilles heel. And we get some fun stuff with the mini golf, some classic lines that we've all quoted.
"You're gonna die, clown!"
Yeah. And they're like, "It's all about the happy place. Find your happy place."
Which is so cheesy.
Like, dude, I love the happy place montage.
There's so funny.
the little person in the cowboy suit.
Yeah, on the unicycle. Yeah, waving. And then there's Virginia in like lingerie, and there's Grandma all happy with all this money. And the reason I went through it and mentioned each thing is because it comes in later.
It comes back later, yeah.
But then, right after is the scene where Chubbs dies, and there's a lot to talk about here. One thing I want to mention is like when he offers the gift to Chubbs, he's like, "I got you a little something." You just the genuine joy, like God bless him. I think it's Carl Weathers, right? God bless him because he just like he's so happy. He's chuckling. He's like, "Oh, this looks nice," and just like happy.
And he's just like showing him his storage and his coffee table. He's like, "Oh, are we gonna do some cocaine? Like, what is he excited about?" You know what I mean? He's like,
and then as as Chubbs is opening up the gift, Happy's like, you know that gator that got your hand? I got his head.
I got his head.
And he opens it up, sees this gator's head, gets all freaked out, and backpedals through the window.
Well, and like I honestly feel like, let's talk about this. If you lost your hand to an animal, fairly traumatic, probably wouldn't want to see the head of the animal.
Yeah.
Like it would probably be very scary to see that. It would hurt your feelings and probably you would freak out anyways. But it just so happens that he was standing directly in front of a large, very low, probably not builder grade window. And he falls out of it and dies.
Yeah, that window was about knee height now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's how you couldn't have children in that house.
When he falls out the window, like immediately there's this random dude on the street that's just like shaking his head no.
Well, he's always there. Every time Happy's like swearing and yelling, there's always that one guy who's shaming him. You see it throughout the movie.
And he's actually there in the next scene, which I wanted to talk about, because they're at the tour, and Shooter's basically hamming up Chubbs' death and saying, I'm going to dedicate my performance to Chubbs' memory. And Happy's like, no, I'm playing for Chubbs. And then he's like going to fight him or whatever. And the girl stops him. She's like, beat him on the course. And he's like, yeah, that's right. I'm going to beat your ass on the course. And Shooter's like, yeah, right. And Grizzly Adams had a beard. And that same dude's like, Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
So random.
That was so great. I remember watching that and being like, wait a minute. And then, the guys just said, Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
Yeah. So then we get the final tour showdown with Shooter, and we see Happy's new and improved short game in action. He's like, Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh. And so he's keeping pace with Shooter, and we get one of the final montages, if not the final montage of the movie, of them kind of going back and forth and him keeping pace. And then we slowly start to see Shooter unravel here. He starts to whiff on a couple strokes, trying to imitate like Happy's style of like hitting the drive. And he whiffs on a couple, and so he starts to kind of get rattled by that. And finally, he goes nuclear, and he has to recruit Jackass guy, Joe Flaherty again, to come in and hit Happy with a car.
My favorite Shooter tantrum is when he smashes the beach ball with his club, and he's like,
he's like stuck to it.
It's so like, it's just like I've been that guy before, you know? Yeah, it's great.
So Jackass guy ends up smashing into a TV tower and running off, just like Jackass. It's pretty funny, but that comes into play later, because now that Happy has been injured, he starts to tail spin, and he can't hit his long drive anymore, and he's missing shots. At one point, I love this part, he gets mad and like swings his club and like throws it as hard as he can, and the caddy just kind of like catches it. And like here's where he tries to summon the Happy place, but now Shooter keeps showing up in the memories, and it's just funny because I forget what he did to the little person. Did he just like kick him or something? I don't remember, but he starts making out with the girl, and like even Grandma with the Gene Simmons mask.
Yeah, he's like sucking on the tongue.
So Happy's having a hard time getting to his happy place. And then like this is where like I get the movie, it's a tight movie, they had to kind of turn things around, but like the moment of going from like Happy in a tailspin to Happy completely turning his game around was just Grandma showing up and just being like, Happy, if you don't win, it's okay. And then like, that's it. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the inspiration, Grandma. Now he's going to rally. His happy place is back. He's got all the lingerie and the money and the little person on a unicycle. And it's all great. Excuse me. Sorry about that. One thing I want to mention here, there's a random dude in the crowd. And I don't know why this scene is even in the movie. It serves no point. But it's just a random dude in the crowd that's like, golf jacket's yours, Happy, Shooter's gonna choke. It's just like,
I love that joke.
It's funny and stuff, but like from a movie perspective, like, was that a favor? I don't know. I'd have to look into it. Like, was that just a favor for a buddy?
I was wondering about that too. I forgot to look into that, but Adam Sandler is notorious for just getting his buddies into his movies. So like that stuck out to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably just like one of his buddies who's like, yeah, sure, fuck it, I'll put you in the movie, I'll give you a line, because I think too, because like what is it? If you have dialogue, then you have you have to get paid more if you have a
right, a speaking part, yeah.
And that's like a rule through the Screen Actors Guild or something. So
yeah. So, but I mean, it ended up being prophetic because Shooter indeed does start to choke, starts to lose his mind a little bit more at a time, and then has the moment where he has to hit the ball off, and I quote him, Frankenstein's fat foot.
Your ball struck my foot.
Yeah. Well, and then
the dude who plays Happy Gilmore's old boss, he played Jaws in like old Bond movies.
Bond movies, yep, for sure. And like, I love his line here where because he's like, Happy's 2 up on you, Shooter, and Shooter's like, oh great, you can count. And he's like, and you can count on me waiting for you in the parking lot.
Well, we actually get the best scene ever is when Brett was talking about obviously Happy lands the miraculous shot of the
like through the TV tower, clink clink, like revisiting the mini golf kind of obstacle course. Yeah,
obviously we have to have the huge win, and I love that what Brett was talking about is where he steals Happy's golden jacket, and we see this mob chasing after him, and part of that mob is Mr. Larson, his old construction, and he's the one that's all like a Viking running in, probably murder.
Another thing I picked up on this watch through was how decrepit that actor is, because he had some kind of
degenerative disorder for sure.
Yeah, but like it's it's what caused him to be so huge, and so like when in that scene when he's doing that Viking run, you can clearly tell like either he's on some sort of dolly or he's just green screened over it. Because there's actually moments in the movie where you can see him standing with a cane or he's got his arm around somebody propping him up. But I just never really picked up on that. I was just like, wow, what a big scary dude. But then you realize it's like, oh no, he can barely move.
Yeah. So then we get the wind down scene. Happy's now won the tournament. He's got everything's all happy-do, and they saved the house after all, and Grandma's going to move back in there. And then we get Happy's got a Force Ghost scene with Chubbs, Abe Lincoln, and the alligator. Okay. And then, that's a wrap. Some great music plays us over the credits, and that's Happy Gilmore, 90 minutes down the hatch. We probably took longer talking about it right now than the movie actually was. But, really good stuff. For rankings, as I said at the start, this movie kind of hits on all of the points of comedy that I like. And it does so while also being cool. Like, there's cool moments, like the Jersey Punch is cool. Like the couch high jump scene, like it's cool stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. It's not just like cheesy, stupid slapstick comedy, and it has great music over it. And you could tell like Sandler was at this point in his career where he was trying to build up like a movie resume. He'd already kind of built up like this audio comedy resume with a bunch of like CDs and albums that he'd put out doing audio comedy, and now he's like trying to really make his mark in the movie industry. And he'd followed up Billy Madison, which was a big success, and this movie outdoes it in pretty much every way you can outdo it, in my opinion. As we said, if this movie's ever on for some reason, I'm never going to not watch it. I'm probably always going to watch it. So I'm gonna stick to my theme. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 as well, and go crazy 8s today.
Yeah, you know what? I think that it's one of those movies that if you like Sandler's brand of comedy, you're gonna really enjoy his kind of juvenile, silly way of looking at golf and life. A lot of people probably would find this not funny and forgettable, to be honest with you. But I think that there is a lot of surprising, funny randomness that I really like about Sandler's comedy. I like how a lot of this stuff just comes out of nowhere. I really like that. I will say the biggest detractor to this movie for me is just the idea that this like 90s loser can become like a super pro golfer. Like there's this like thing about this movie that I kind of love and also hate, is that like Sandler represents that 90s douche bro that I really don't like in a lot of ways. But this movie is so funny, it's hard to not like. And I think that it gets better as the movie goes, and Sandler gets more personable as the movie goes on. And I think it's a classic comedy, and I'm going to give it a strong 7.9. I think that it's really funny, and I love to watch it. So, yeah, it's going to get a high rating for me.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's a classic. It's just such a classic. Like you said, Brett, like everybody has seen this movie. I remember like watching this movie and like it being like a quiet part and my mom being in the kitchen and me being in the living room. And then all of a sudden it just like blares out like, "Suck my white ass ball." And my mom just like, "What are you watching?" Great movie. It starts out a little slow, but once when it ramps up, like there were several like laugh out loud moments in the movie for me. This and Billy Madison were kind of, Adam Sandler's like
1-2
screw you to,
right?
well, and it was like his screw you to Lorne Michaels, because he did those two movies back to back after being fired from SNL. And I believe, I might be wrong on this, but I believe he had actually pitched like the kind of the basic premise of this movie as like a character or a sketch on Saturday Night Live and got rejected. So, it's kind of a bit of a redemption story for Adam Sandler as well. That being said, classic movie. Watching it again, I'm just like, okay, it's a little juvenile, but when we were kids, this was fucking hilarious. This movie was the shit. Like, how many times on the playground where you're like, "Are you too good for your home? Go home," and talking about, Bob Barker beating the shit out of Adam Sandler.
Or
like
taparoo.
Yeah, give a little tappy. Yeah,
there's a lot of quotable lines for sure.
Yeah, and then there's things that you forget about this movie, and you're just like, oh yeah, like I kind of forgot that like this was the Shooter McGavin movie, and I was just like, when they introduced his character, I'm like, oh, I am so excited, like like.
Fun fact: this actually was rewritten by Judd Apatow. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so funny, and there's so many like just constant jokes.
Yeah. So. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Like, it's a classic 90s comedy. It's again one of those movies they don't really make movies like this anymore, or even attempt to. But all in all, solid effort, and it harkens back to a time when you'd see Adam Sandler's name on the opening credits and be like, "Oh wow, this should be good."
Well, this is his favorite movie, and his opinion. It's his best movie, and he is not wrong. I think it's the tip top of his kind of style of comedy, and I think he does a great job in this.
Yes, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I think that's going to about do it for this week's episode. Once again, people listening, if you don't follow us yet on social media, please do so. At the Stoners POV, Instagram and Twitter. Check out our YouTube, check out our Spotify. And next week will be fun. We're gonna finally tackle a Quentin Tarantino movie. We're gonna do Django Unchained.
Oh,
and
yeah!
I've been wanting to do that for a while now. And our song, we're gonna take it back old school, and we're gonna do "Changes" by Tupac. So get yourself ready for a good episode. We're gonna have a good time. And thank you for listening this week, and we hope you'll join us next week. So for my illustrious co-host, my name is Brett. This has been the Stoner's Point of View. We will see you next week.
Au revoir.
Bye-bye.